I'm good at that.
You are good at that. Hey friends, welcome to the Johnson City Living Podcast, where we learn about the people, places, events, and flavors that make Johnson City a lovely place to live. I'm your host, Colin Johnson, with the Colin and Carly Group and Keller Williams Realty. It is a gorgeous fall day. It's crisp air, leaves are flying around, foliages are in the air, everybody's got a little sniffle or something, it seems like. So, but with that being said, it is probably everybody around says it's the best time of the year in Johnson City, because the Lord's really showing off with his colors, and he's showing off to me with my friends and how they're supporting the podcast, loving it, and I am super excited to share one of my friends with you guys. His name is Gary Ellis. He is a husband, first of all, father, believer, friend, and he is a coffee roaster now, which is pretty awesome. So I'm excited for you guys to get to know Gary Ellis. Welcome to the podcast, Gary. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm great, and I'm great. I like doing even better because he brought, if you're on Facebook Live, you can see it right now, but he brought a whole coffee setup. It's like he's a mobile barista almost. And so I'm excited to try some coffee. What did you bring us this morning?
So this is our roaster's choice. This is the one that I prefer the most. This is the one that I spend the money on the most personally, buying from the business. It is called our Range Boss. I've just thought if a boss on the ranch came home after a long, hard day in the field, this would probably be a cup he'd enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's from a region in Colombia called Valle del Cauca. It is a medium roast, and it has tasting notes of red berries, apple, nutmeg, and honey. And this is one that we always carry in stock, so I make sure to order quite a bit at a time just to make sure we have a lot on hand, because this is the one that I've sold the most.
Wow. So I just got a little pour of the old Range Boss, and it smells fantastic. It's warm and just cozy feeling, and it tastes delicious. Yeah. So yeah. And he did bring coffee creamer because he knows I'm kind of a coffee pansy, but I'm probably going to just drink it straight. And you say some of your friends just drink it straight.
Yeah. What made me really submit the idea of having this our main kind of roast that we sell is I've made this in a pour over for a lot of friends when we were doing some testing on our recipes and stuff for the roast. And most often this one was the one that my friends that enjoyed creamer in their coffee generally would say, well, I could just drink this black. This is amazing.
Yeah,
I love
it's delicious. It is good.
It's got a very good body to it. It sets well on the tongue. It's very low in acidity, so for most folks, they don't like the pungentness of a lighter roast that's going to have a little more acidicness and some citrusy notes, but this one's very mellow, and it's just an all-around good coffee. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, it is a good Range Boss sipper.
Yeah.
That could be good. Okay, so
it doesn't put hair on your chest, so you don't have to worry about drinking it, ladies.
That's all right. So tell the audience a little bit. One, Johnson City Living, I always ask this question. What's your favorite part about Johnson City? What's the favorite thing, part, place?
Probably
flavor?
My favorite part. I grew up in Bristol, out near South Holston Lake.
Yep.
Lived here my entire life. Moved away for a little bit, and with some family, we ended up moving back. But I have been all over the U.S., and I always love this place. In fact, I'm one of those folks, I go to the beach, and it's about 3 days in, and I'm longing for the mountains again. So,
yeah, every time we come back from the beach, like once you hit kind of that Asheville, you're looking at the mountains coming up the hill, you're like, I'm home, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially I have to agree this time of year is my all-time favorite. You know, I do enjoy coffee quite a bit, but it's just nice to come home, and like in the evenings, it's cool enough to enjoy a coffee and some campfire in the backyard.
And a flannel shirt.
Like yeah, flannel shirts.
You've been waiting all year to put on your flannel.
Flannel is my favorite color. That's what I tell people. It's my favorite color.
It looks good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and from this area, probably one of the best things I love just in general about the Tri-Cities area, and even Johnson City is really starting to tap into it, is just the history. We have an amazing area. I recently, earlier this year, went to the Country Music Museum in Bristol.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely just blown away at just how how much the music scene in Tennessee changed just because of the Bristol sessions. And Johnson City actually had its own little Bristol sessions too, which I learned when I was down there. So I would say the history and obviously just the outdoors aspects. Like you're just a short drive from anything exciting, whether it be paddleboarding, kayaking, hunting, fishing, hiking, frisbee golf, like whatever you like to do outside, there is somewhere exciting to go do it here in this area. And it's just wonderful. And the culture, I've met so many people that have moved here recently, and the number one thing that people say about Johnson City or just this area in general is people are so nice.
Yeah.
And it's great. And that's great for me as a business owner because I'm like, hey, that means most of my customers are going to be pretty easy to deal with.
Going to be nice.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I tell people jokingly, but not really jokingly. I say, if you're a jerk, just keep driving. You can move somewhere else. Just don't move to Johnson City. Because we have a great culture here. People are super sweet. And we want to continue to cultivate that. And
I just recently read a story of a guy that owns a coffee shop. I forget where it was at. It was one of the bigger cities. But he put up a sign in his coffee shop that says, if you're rude, you pay double for your drink.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good one. Yeah. You can adopt that. I'm sure he won't mind. One of my friends, his son has a place in Telluride, and they went to visit him. And he said, the locals wear a shirt that says, Telluride sucks. Go tell your friends and family, like on the back. It's like, because they want to protect it as well. So, yeah. All right. So you didn't grow up being a coffee roaster. Juan Valdez is not your dad, I don't think, right?
No.
What led you into the coffee biz? Drinking coffee?
Well, we've got it listed on our website, which is outpostroastersjc.com. Coffee was kind of a staple growing up. I have all of these great memories about coffee. I can still, vividly in my head, remember the sound of my dad getting up every morning at 5 a.m., turning the coffee pot on. I remember what it sounded like pouring the coffee in his Stanley thermos, and then the squeak that it made when he tightened the lid down, and the rattle, the coffee cups, and just the smell of it. My dad and grandfather, they loved to go out, and we used to do fishing trips together, and we just so many memories sitting around the campfire after a long day of fishing and just hanging out. And so I just realized that people make memories with tactile goods. And so whenever you are reminded of something, it's usually a smell or the way something looks or it feels. And I wanted to get into business with a product that's something where a passion and something that I love kind of intersected and along with some memories. And what I really want to do is create a product that helps people create memories.
Yeah.
And I feel like coffee is probably more of a social piece these days than even alcohol. Like when I hear most people going out, most people are going out for coffee.
Yeah.
And I want to be a part of that. I want my product to be a part of people making memories. And when they think, you know what, Outpost Roasters make some good coffee, and I've been able to host some friends over, and we've made some good memories because of that. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it is true that we get to know people in a deeper way when you're sitting across the table from somebody, sipping a little cup of coffee, and it just kind of opens up your heart, and you're and so you're like, hey, let's talk about life and what's going on. Okay, so talk to us about Outpost Roasters. Where's your store?
Well, we currently do not have retail space. We're e-commerce only.
I like it.
Which I would say sweat equity is in the millions of dollars when it comes to building the website. I had no idea how complicated and I could never be a graphic designer. I could tell you that because I used a template-based system through Square. Which made it about as easy as possible.
And it was still
like you're creating a document in Word and you've got all these templates. Well, that's kind of how this website builder was. But it was every detail. And I kind of learned from previous local businesses in the area that probably aren't with us anymore. But, you go to their websites and it was like they just did it for the sake of doing it and they didn't put a lot of time into it. And I realized that like most of our business would be through word of mouth and just people checking out our website. So I was like, how do I make this a fun, smooth, seamless experience that is easy for people? Because a clunky, misdesigned website or mismanaged website really can turn people away. It's like if you had a storefront, you walked in and somebody's about to trip over a pile of junk in the floor, they're probably not going to come back. And so I wanted something that was easy to navigate, that was really striking to the eyes. And so we chose colors that went along with the business theme, the dark browns and tans and greens and things of that nature. And so it's a very pleasant color palette. But we are aiming to have a retail space. We're at the friction point now to where I'm considering having to invest some money in buying a bigger roaster, just because of the demand. My current roaster right now, his nickname is the Spartan, because that little thing just roasts and roasts and roasts and roasts, and it just will not give up. And it's not a very expensive one, but man, it is handmade in where did that thing come from? I think it was Vietnam. I think is where it's made. But my goodness, that thing, it just keeps going and going and going. So we are to the point where I'm going to have to consider doing that. And I just roast from our house right now. I've got a little room and a workstation.
So for our audience, because I'm a coffee novice a little bit, but let's talk about roasting. So where do you source your coffee? Like, you live just down the road from me. We don't have coffee plants around us. There's not like a farmer.
They're on the left.
Yeah, like you can't go down to the farmer's market and get sacks of fresh beans that you're going to go roast. So tell us about the start to cup process.
Yeah. So this is probably one of the most exciting things about coffee. Coffee can only be grown in certain regions around the world. Most of those are going to be some in the Middle East, Africa, the Asian countries, South America, and Central America.
Is it closer to the equator kind of deal?
Yeah, so they require very hot climates, and a lot of your really good coffees are going to be grown in high altitudes. And so you've got the plant itself, which is a tree, and then you've got a cherry that grows on the tree. They call it a coffee cherry. And then the actual bean itself is actually the pit of the cherry. So it's really neat. But when you get that, they hand pick. So if you're buying good coffee, you're buying from a farm that hand picks it. Most of your commodity coffees like JFG, Maxwell House, things of that nature, because they have to meet such high demand, they'll actually harvest the whole tree sometimes on the farms that they use, and then they'll have to replant. And so it can make the coffee not as good as it normally would be from a smaller family-owned farm that spends a lot of time picking it by hand. So they'll pick it by hand. They'll either do, there's all kinds of processes for the drying method. They'll do a honey process. They'll do a sun-dry method. They'll do a machine drying method. They'll do a water method.
I was in Guatemala and saw coffee plants, and they were doing the sun-dry. They just had it spread out on all this
big concrete pads, and they'll just spread them out and they'll let them dry. Well, once they dry, they package them up, and then we import them. And so
they roll the husk off first or something.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. The honey process, they let the outer skin ferment, and so which actually can make for a great cup of coffee. Our decaf that we have is actually honey processed. Our Rwandan coffee is a honey process, and it's very good. It's a dark roast. Suppose then it gets in a burlap bag or a Mylar bag, and it gets shipped into the U.S., and then it goes through a broker, and a broker ships it to wherever it goes. And so when part of just getting into the business world, I know there can be a lot of unethical things happen, and my personal conviction is just to honor the Lord with our business and pursue ethical means. And a lot of these coffee farms are in countries where the governments tend to rule a lot of life. And for example, Nicaragua, I haven't been able to get coffee from there in a while because the country's so unstable. And that happens. And that's the problem with coffee, too, is it is in a lot of countries where they're facing stuff like that. And so I want to make sure that when we buy, we're buying from an ethical broker or an importer that actually cuts the farmers a good deal and gives them adequate money, because they work all year long for a harvest. And once they harvest that, if they don't get money, it may impede their harvest for next year because they may not have enough to go at the net. So that's a big deal for me. And when I find a new bean that I want to buy, I spend hours reading about the company. If I'm going through a different broker, reading about how it's sourced. Sweet Maria's is my favorite because they actually take me from farm to cup. They have pictures of the farm. They tell me about the farm. They tell me about all the drying methods and everything. So I really feel safe ordering from them. I feel like our money is being spent in a really ethical way.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because those guys do work their tails off. Man.
Yeah, it's hard work.
Oh, man, really you're on the side of a mountain picking beans and getting them. And what blows me away is that you're probably maybe listening right now and you've got a cup of coffee in your hand, and that the Lord provides enough coffee. I mean, you're talking billions of cups of coffee.
One of the biggest industries in the world.
Every day. It's crazy.
Americans consume more coffee per capita than any other country in the world.
Yeah.
And the only place in the regional U.S. that you can grow coffee is Hawaii. And so lava rock soil is actually very good for coffee.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so they do grow some. Kona is usually, if you see Kona, it's usually from Hawaii. So
we should probably go on a research trip.
Yeah, that's in the business plan.
Yeah.
We've put a budget out for it. So
okay. Well, tell us some what's the future of Outpost Roasters? What are you hoping to get to?
So a couple things. First off, we really want people to appreciate good coffee. I really want to take people through that process.
So like an educational process.
Yeah, and just
might be cool to have some videos of you talking about it on the website, so that this is and you may already have that on there.
We do have an information section on the website I'm currently building. There's a few things on there right now, but I really want people to understand the production process. I think I can speak because I'm an American, but we really take for granted those blue jeans we have or all the products that we consume, and we don't realize how many steps go through just to bring that cup. And I really want people to understand, these folks are really working hard to give you a product that you probably take for granted every day. And so educating people, I really want people to understand and appreciate the craft behind coffee and how all those different drying processes, the roast methods, all of that can affect.
So like you roast it for how long?
So a general roast in my roaster specifically, which is a small batch roaster, takes about 12 minutes.
Okay, but you could do 8 and 10 or 15, and you've found that.
Yeah, so you actually kind of create a recipe when you have a bean. Not
this
every
is where
roaster,
the uniqueness of your coffee.
Yeah, so not every roaster is going to do it the same, and there's a lot of trial and error in the beginning, and it was a lot of fun. And I will say my first roast wasn't supreme, but I actually, when I made it, it wasn't bad. So I was like, hey, maybe I'm pretty good at this after all. Yeah, maybe I got something here. So it takes about 12 minutes. You watch the temperature. You kind of watch how it rises. You have what's called a roast curve. So that's how fast the beans heat up. You want to roast them, not bake them. So if you elongate your roast too much, you'll bake the beans instead of roasting them, and it'll make for a bad cup. So there's a very specific method to it. It is kind of a trade, I would consider.
Yeah.
So I spent hours reading books, watching videos before I even put my first beans down in the roaster.
Karen's had lots of bad cups of coffee, and she's like, "Here's the."
Well, she's more of a tea drinker, but she's had a few. She likes it when I make coffee for her.
Yeah,
so.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so I jumped in. Sorry, I'm talking about the process because I love to learn about how things work and are made. But yeah, so you're roasting the coffee, and then Outpost is going somewhere, and I jumped in and.
Yeah, so we aim to potentially open a coffee shop in the area. We are obviously praying through that process. We're praying for, of course, it takes capital to do that. And I want the business not to outgrow my own capabilities. So I'm just praying for steadiness and steady growth and steadiness in me, because I am the only person doing it. Karen does help out with a lot of the back end stuff, the design stuff, things of that nature, business cards, all that. And so we're aiming to open a coffee shop, but for right now, I'm pretty content. I think the retail stand is a good option that we did last Saturday over at Keller Williams.
Thank you for coming out there.
Yeah, so we thank you guys for partnering with us and allowing us just to hang out over there on Saturday.
Anytime you want.
I am, New York hot dog stands, they hang out in 15-degray weather. So if I've got to be out there in 15-degree weather selling bags of coffee and letting people come by and buy a cup, I'll do that.
So you not only do you I guess fulfill orders there, because you can order online and then pick it up on Saturday.
That's correct. You can order. Yeah, it'll be a couple Saturdays a month because I do have a family, and Saturdays is kind of our day to spend time together. But
every other Saturday,
I'm grinding the grind. I'm putting my nose to the grindstone as often as I can. So
no pun intended. So buy a couple bags and get you through to the next Saturday, and then. And then you can order online too? Or?
Yeah. So we have a fully functional e-commerce site, outpostroastersjc.com. You can go on there, you go to the coffee tab. It'll walk you through how to choose what coffee you want. You'll at the checkout process, you can choose what brew method you're using. So I wanted it to be personalized. So if you're using a French press, you click French press. When the order comes through on the back end, it tells me that I need to do a really coarse grind because you're going to be using it in a French press. If you're using a drip maker, you can do a medium grind. If you're using it for espresso, I'll do a fine grind on it. So there's all kinds of options there, but it's pretty easy. You just choose your modifier, you add it in the cart, you check out, and we take all forms of payment at this point as far as Square will let us go. So yeah, you buy on there, and then we're trying to fulfill orders. We needed a physical spot where people could come and see us because I didn't want random strangers dropping by the house to pick up coffee.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah,
but I like random strangers coming by our place because that's how I sell them houses. So. It's a win-win. Yeah, I just got on your website. It's great. Purveyors of great memories and fine coffee. I love it. I love it. And I know this front yard area right here, too. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so what I guess, I'm thinking about the coffee shop in the future and how that's going to play out because we may be listening to somebody who wants to come to town and maybe even help out with that. So you said earlier, I don't know if this was, that you want it to be a destination spot. What is your dream really there?
Yeah, so the kind of the motif of the business is it's kind of Western expansion, Oregon Trail kind of themed, and so we've got all kinds of fun T-shirts planned when we get to that point. Cool. We've got some mugs designed. We haven't bought any of that stuff yet, but essentially, when we get to the coffee shop part, I want it to feel kind of like Grandpa's Cabin meets Western general store. Mm-hmm. And so my idea is that if God gives us success in this business, then I want to use that success to help others be successful. And so we'll be just a coffee shop kind of general store.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
But we want a big floor plan where it's spaced out. We want something where it's comfortable. It's kind of woodsy and warm toned and in some green space where people can hang out. Mm-hmm. And so we want it to kind of be a destination coffee shop where you come and like date night, like people show up and they're like, we want to go sit there because it's a cool place. And so another aspect of that is we want it to be a cooperative. So if you come there and you get a cup of coffee, it's our coffee. But if you want a cheesecake or a Danish, it's something made by a local cottage kitchen.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
So we're promoting others' business through our business to help their business grow too. And so
kind of like our whole area, people helping people.
Yeah, we're really passionate about that, and I'm really passionate about putting Starbucks and Dunkin' out of business. and I don't mean that in an evil sense. No. I mean that in a sense of like I really want to see the money spent in our community stay in our community and help our community grow. Yeah. And so if I can build a business where that happens, I'd really like to see that.
Yeah. Well, and I'm looking on your website. You've got a bunch of different flavors of coffee. You want to talk about those for our listeners in case they're thinking about it?
Yeah, so I'd love to go through those. So we've got, keep in mind, a little Western motif here.
I like it.
We will have character profiles on these coffees soon to kind of explain why we named them the way we did.
And all the links are going to be on the show notes. So if you click down below, you can go right to their website.
We talked about Range Boss earlier. Then we have our 6-shooter, which is another Colombian roast from a region called Cundinamarca. This is a great cup of coffee. It's got a lot of good tasting notes to it. We've got the Vaquero, which is a Latino cowboy.
Nice.
That is a single origin Guatemalan from Huehuetenango. Then we have Chuckwagon Sunrise, which is from the San Marcos region in Central America. Then we have the tenderfoot. Now, I named it tenderfoot because tenderfoot is usually a term used in the West for a beginner cowboy or a young cowboy, and so that is what our decaf is called. But I want to talk just real quick about our decaf. Most decaf is chemically decaffeinated, which is why a lot of people hate decaf.
Bad.
And decaf actually isn't 100% no caffeine. It usually has 5 to 10, maybe even 15%. But our decaf comes from Ethiopia, and they use what's called a Swiss water method decaf. So for those of you that don't know, the longer you roast a coffee bean, the more caffeine dissipates out of the bean. So your darker roast coffee will actually have less caffeine in it.
I learned that the other day. Yeah. It blew my mind. You'd think darker, more caffeine, but no.
Yeah. So with the Swiss water decaf method, what they do is they soak the beans in water, or they do a washing process, and it removes a lot of the caffeine from it. And the reason I personally really like this decaf because it's got tasting notes of stewed peach, baked pear, kind of baked bread, pumpernickel type tasting notes. It's a very good cup of coffee. It's bold or not kind of bold. It's just a full body for a decaf. I don't really like using the word bold because it's kind of arbitrary. But anyways, it's a great decaf. It's naturally decaffeinated, so you don't get that chemical taste. And that chemical they use to decaf coffee is not good for you either.
No, there are different chemicals.
So this is a very good coffee. And then we have our dark roast, which is the Cowman's Choice. So for those of you that don't know, actually being called a cowboy in the West was actually an insult because cowboys were what they called cattle rustlers or horse thieves.
Oh.
And so if you worked on a ranch, you were called a cowman, not a cowboy.
Ah.
So this is our dark roast. It is a very good cup. I sold a couple of bags of this the other day. People are really starting to like this. It's from the Kanyega region of Rwanda. And so it's a western province, and it's about 1,870 meters above sea level. Really good cup of coffee. Oh, wow. I really like this roast a lot. I'm not generally a medium roast guy, but this one is a very good. It's one of my favorites too. So I do like all of them, but there are some that I'm more partial to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We do have also. I developed a 3-ounce bag.
Okay.
That is made. Yep. So you can use them as samplers. They're perfect for camping. They're perfect for, actually, if you want to just make a 12-cup pot of coffee, it's pre-measured for a 12-cup pot.
Oh, that's cool.
So this product is really going to be marketed heavily towards businesses, churches, things of that nature, people that buy it in bulk, and then they just want to open the bag, pour it in, hit the start button.
Talk about pricing a little bit, too, while you're on it, because I know it looked reasonable.
Yeah, so all of our prices listed on our website include tax. I'm big on that because I really like it personally when I go somewhere and I can hand somebody a 10 and a 5 and that's it and walk away.
There you go.
I don't have to worry about change or nothing like that. But I also feel like it's a little less of a turnoff. You know, it's like, oh, wait, $15 for a bag and then I got to pay another dollar and some change.
Yeah,
something like that.
So it's really $16.50. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so some people, people that buy like Sam's Choice or something like that or an off-brand coffee, they're going to pay, $5 or $6. But when it comes to coffee, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, for sure.
And our bags are $15 for a 12-ounce bag. And a 12-ounce bag will make an estimated 32 to 36 cups of coffee. So you're setting right around 50 cents a cup. Yeah. Still cheaper than where you're going to buy it elsewhere.
You can't buy it from that. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're using a reusable mug every morning, hey, you're saving a lot of money there. And Americans spend a lot of money on coffee.
Yeah, we do.
The smaller packets, so even if you bought those, you're paying $3.50 for a 12-cup pot of coffee. So you're still setting real good.
You're setting really good.
And the pricing part was the hard part because I didn't want to price it too low and put us out of business. I didn't want to price it too high and put us out of business. So
right, there's that entrepreneurial edge there you got to kind of be on.
Then we got to cover our costs too on the back end. So
yeah, are you seeing coffee prices go up with inflation and all that stuff?
It hasn't hit just yet, but I will say this: almost all of the big container ships that come in and bring the coffee in, they run on diesel. So with diesel prices, with diesel getting where they're not producing oil right now at a high capacity, diesel's getting used up quite a bit with the trucks and the ships. So it hasn't hit us yet. I'm hoping
it could be coming.
It could be coming. I'm hoping it doesn't. If it does, we might, rethink some things and maybe try to make it a little easier for the consumer. Of course, we'll try to do what we can just to stay in business because there is that part of the business too. I can't give it away. But no, it hasn't hit us yet. Thank the Lord. So we're doing pretty good. The only thing it really might hurt though is production for next year's crop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It is. You just never know what's going to happen.
No, it's a mystery.
It's all a mystery, and so it's fun to just kind of see every day's new, and we'll just keep trusting the Lord that He's going to take good care of us. How best obviously OutpostRoastersJC.com is a good way to connect with you. How else should our listeners connect with you?
Well, just because I'm managing this all on my own, I decided not to do a Facebook. I don't feel like Facebook's a heavy trafficked social media site anymore. Okay. When I went through co-starters at the Chamber of Commerce, most of the business success I heard from folks there was on Instagram. Yeah. So we do have an Instagram. I feel like Instagram's more personal because I can do live videos there. People can just kind of get little snippets because everybody's in a hurry these days. Life is busy. And so our handle on there is at Outpost Roasters JC. You can find us on there. I do videos as often as I can in between being a dad and a father or a husband and a day job.
Yeah, you got the day job you got rolling. I don't know how you get it all done.
So, really. Well, I don't know either. I wake up one day, I'm like, where am I at?
Where am I at? How did I get here?
What's going on? Yeah. I need some coffee.
You should just get a roaster going in your truck in the back on the way to
just roast all day long.
Roast all the time.
So they can find us on Instagram, our website. The business number is 423-430-9630. Yeah. It's a great way to reach me. You can text that number too.
Okay.
But you can also email us at outpostroastersjc@gmail.com. So there's some great ways to get a hold of us for now. That's probably
because I think you just kind of helped our listeners dabble, put their finger in just the pool that goes super deep on coffee and how you handle it and roast it. And I mean, you seem to have just a depth of knowledge on coffee that's just beyond my comprehension. And you're also like a gun aficionado. Like you're one of those guys that knows everything. I'm a lot.
I'm a walking stereotype for masculinity. That is for sure.
He does have a great beard. He's got it all going on.
I love John Wayne. Good whiskey, like stuff. Yeah. So, but I do like to cry and watch romantic comedies, and
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
One other thing I'd like to say just about our bags.
Yeah.
Is we wanted that general store feel, and so what we did is I took all of our variable costs that would be potential variable costs and tried to make them fixed costs. And one of those things, a lot of coffee companies print their bags. They have their bags printed, or they have labels.
Right.
And I was like, well, that sounds kind of unsafe with all the logistical nightmares people are facing right now. So we had a rubber stamp made.
Yeah.
So all of our bags are hand stamped, and all the information is handwritten on the bag.
That's
so the roast date, the tasting notes, the origin, all that stuff is handwritten on the bag. So it's a little bit more of a personal touch.
Is that your handwriting or is that Karen's?
I do. So part of it is my handwriting. Part of it is Karen's. I do have pretty reasonable handwriting.
Yeah,
so it's pretty legible.
That's way better than mine. Okay, last question. What gets you fired up, Gary?
What gets me fired up is
besides
community.
A good old cup of coffee.
Community support, seeing businesses get successful. I mean, Blues Brews is opening their own physical store.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
I just think I remember stopping at the Airstream in Boones Creek when they were there, and I just remember and the great customer service. And now they're doing that, and they wouldn't be able to do that without the help of people that live in Johnson City, purchasing their coffee, supporting them. And
now they don't roast their own stuff, though.
No, I forget who they purchase their beans from.
Maybe Outpost Roasters.
Maybe, I don't know. But we'll see. But that's really what gets me is seeing people come together, seeing, success of people flourishing, people kind of meeting new people. Yeah. That's what that's what I love about coffee is it brings folks together. And there's a coffee for everybody.
Oh man, for sure.
So, and we talked to just about a few of the beans that I import. So, and there's 1,000 more I could.
Isn't
import.
it crazy? And it's interesting how you chose those, and I'm sure our listeners can find out more about it on the website. But yeah, out of 1,000, you picked these 7 or 8.
And I'm testing others to add new products later. But for now, we'll stick with these.
That's awesome. Okay, anything I forgot to ask you that you wish you want to share?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You've kind of nailed it all.
Well, you've done a great job. Again, great guest, and I love meeting. I know you, but I love our listeners to be able to meet new people, and I think that's where our city just thrives. Is like we've got a synergy here that wants to help each other and love each other, and I want your business to flourish, and you want mine, and it's just this. We don't have this like scarcity mentality around here. It's like we want everybody to do well and really grow. And so I'm praying that your business takes off and grows, and that you'll be knee deep in coffee around your house pretty soon. You have to have like a warehouse to store it in. That'd be awesome.
It smells like fresh roasted coffee at our house all the time.
You can probably I probably should open the windows when I drive by and just like, oh.
Well, we do have a few coffee products coming out soon. Some beard oils and coffee scrubs and stuff. We're working on now on the back end, so we should be launching those maybe in December. So keep an eye out on the website.
That's cool. Yeah. I won't use the beard oil, but yeah.
You can use it in your hair.
I can, yeah, you
smell
can.
like
That's
coffee.
right. That's right. I'll use the coffee scrub. I need to smell better for sure. So, well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I enjoyed our conversation. I know our listeners have too. And thank you guys for joining our conversation. Connect with Gary on Instagram or go to the website and get some coffee because it was delicious. I feel like a range boss after drinking that. So, till next time, I'm Colin Johnson with the Colin and Carly Group and Keller Williams Realty. If you want to make a move to Johnson City, if you want us to manage your property or help you invest in real estate here in town, we'd love to help you with that. And I would love to sit down with you over a cup of coffee and talk about your plans and how we can help. Thanks so much. Have a great day and take care.